Thank you so much for joining us today at this event. Did anyone join our event last year? Was anyone here last year?
I don't think so.
No? Okay, fantastic. So you're in for a great time today. My name is Dr. Britni Cassidy-Rice and I'm a sport and performance psychologist. I also play Star Wars Unlimited competitively and judge a competitive game as well.
I'm Britni Cassidy-Rice. I'm his wife. I sort of play
Dr.
Lorcana.
Britni Cassidy-Rice, don't please say that.
I'm not in performance psychology, I'm an educator, but I sort of play Lorcana, but not great at it, so.
Well, that's why you're in this workshop for confidence, right? Okay, so today we're going to be talking a little bit about building confidence in TCGs. Before we do, what TCGs does everyone play here? So we have kind of an idea of what we're all into.
Feel free to shout out.
Yeah.
Trading card games?
Card games,
right,
yeah.
Magic the Gathering.
Magic the Gathering? Okay, awesome.
It sort of is Dice Masters.
Dice Masters, okay. I'm not super familiar with it. How does it work?
It's collectible.
Yeah.
So it's that one. It's a game.
Mm-hmm.
There are cards, but the cards are only part of it. It's also dice.
Okay.
It's actually, once described as a dice drafting game.
Okay.
So you create a team of 8 cards. You can assign dice to those cards.
Mhm.
You basically, you attack your opponent and do their life 0. Does it like the 0 sounds familiar?
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Well,
The other difference is it's much more random and it's full information.
great. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. I'll have to check it out after this and see what it's like.
Right.
Yeah.
Not trading, but collectible.
Collectibles, okay.
So Netrunner and Ashes
Yep.
Reborn.
Okay, yeah. I've heard of both of those.
We could do Pokemon, Lorcana, Magic, Riftbound.
Oh, you're just into TCGs then. Yeah.
We're going to community things.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, very nice. Anyone at the back want to shout out before we move on?
The Bandai suite, so Digimon,
Okay.
Gundam, One Piece, DPZ.
Awesome. Yeah, we've got quite a variety then, which is great. Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about confidence, and we are going to be providing some practical skills for you to take away from today's session. 4 of them are on their slide right now, so we'll go through them one by one. So we're going to talk about sources of confidence, where we can build confidence from, reframing. So this is a practical technique that you can use to ensure that when you're in a tournament and things are not necessarily going your way, we're able to sort of reframe that day to ensure that we can still maintain our confidence. We'll talk a little bit about routines and how you can implement routines into how you prepare for tournaments so that you're ready at the start of the day and at the start of each round. And then also how to reflect after a tournament, because as we know with TCGs, a lot of it can be down to sort of your matchups that you get on the day, the card draws that you have. So how do we reflect on that effectively to continue being a confident TCG player? So my first task for you today is, let's say you sat down round 1 in front of your opponent and they just embodied confidence as a TCG player. Just with the people around you, sort of talk about and write down some ideas on what is it that makes a confident TCG player. I'm going to come around each group and get one idea from each of you, and then we'll see how long that takes, and maybe we'll get a couple of ideas. So which group wants to volunteer? First of all, what is a confident TCG player?
It's a number except nobody's going to volunteer to go.
Yeah, I know, yeah, we're seeing who's confident.
Well, you were going, yeah, go for it.
They're organised, they've got their decks sorted, they've got their ready to play.
Okay, so they've sat down, play mats out, decks ready to go. They just look like they're on top of things. Yeah, awesome. Middle area, yeah.
Ours was in a similar vein.
Yep.
Basically everything non-TCG prep related, so knowing where to go, arriving on time, having water, having had a breakfast, all the rest of that kind of stuff.
Okay, so they're prepared. They've locked in for the day. They know exactly where they're going to go. They know where to look for their pairings. They know where the tables are, even though it's maybe your first time going into the venue. Yeah, awesome.
Clear knowledge of the rules, the way that they sort of explain the way that they're taking their turn and things.
Okay, yeah, so the communication that they give to you, they clearly know what they're talking about and can almost lead us into what they're doing. Yeah. What did we talk about?
Yeah,
it kind of encapsulated what was already been said, but I specifically said non-verbal and verbal communication. And non-verbal, how the person presents themselves when they get at the table. And I also mentioned like kind of the opposite of what might feel as confident is when someone's very kind and forgiving. I feel like someone that might be like that might be considered a little less confident than someone that is just like, revving you down.
Yeah.
Really intense.
Yeah. So I do like the non-verbal and the verbal as well. So there's different cues that we might pick up, and that's come out in a few of ours, right? So the way we see them coming into a tournament, that's a non-verbal cue to us. The way that they're playing to us and communicating with us, that's a verbal cue. What about over here?
With body language, I guess we also have a sat. Okay, go into that non-verbal cue.
Yeah.
If they're kind of really sloughed,
Yeah.
or if they're sat there kind of fiddling with a deck and everything, obviously that
Yeah.
differently.
Yeah, so there might be a few things there, and I've seen people like just sat there shuffling like really fast, really constantly. You see people sort of fidgeting with counters that they might have around. There's different ways that their body language might go, and I do like that idea of that slouch back player. Like, let's just get going, right? Awesome. So you've brought up some of the points that I'd already planned to talk about, but in terms of individuals in developing confidence in ourselves, one of the big things is trusting our preparation. So to give you an example, a few weeks ago I was in London with some of my teammates, and the night before we're getting ready in the Airbnb having some practice games. My friend, even though we had to submit the deck list by like 7 a.m, he was still like, oh, I don't know whether to play this deck or play that deck. Has anyone been that person the night before a tournament, right? We had been practicing for weeks and months for this tournament, right? And he still just couldn't decide. So trusting preparation is a big one. If you've put the effort into learning a deck, figuring out the play lines, etc., it's really important that we don't start to second guess ourselves the night before a big tournament. Another one that I came up with was decisiveness. So again, not saying every single action has to be, this is the one, right? But have you ever seen in like the late stages of a tournament where the pressure's really on you and you start going, okay, this is the play that I think I should do, but I've got this option, and you start to sort of second guess yourself in your decision making. Again, sometimes what's actually happening is we're able to recognize patterns without consciously thinking about it. So our initial gut reaction might be the best play that we have, but because the pressure's on the line, we start to second guess that decision, and that's where we might start to second guess what we're actually going to play. So decisiveness can be quite a key one, especially as you look toward later on in the tournaments. And then managing variance. So what I mean by that is it's completely random what cards are going to come up during a game, right? During the course of a tournament, we can set our deck up to have certain percentages of, most of the time I'll draw a turn one play, etc. But we can't actually control what happens during the tournament. Sometimes we just get decked out, right? And we just don't know where to go from there. So being able to think clearly in those moments and have the skills and the ability to sort of juggle what's happening on the board is really important in terms of our confidence as well. And then finally, acceptance of imperfect information. So of course, there's lots of closed information in a TCG. We might guess what our opponent might have in their hand, but we don't always know what they have in their hand. Similarly, we don't know what we're going to draw. So we have to trust that we have the knowledge and the skills, again, going back to that preparation piece, to try and figure out what the best play lines are. So all of the techniques that we're going to talk about today should ultimately help you in managing these sort of areas. But of course, things like non-verbal and verbal cues as well. The way that you present yourself can also help portray confidence to our opponent, and that can sometimes put a little bit of the edge on you to push them out of that, oh, this person's confident, maybe they know exactly what they're doing. So I'll pass over to Britni to talk about sources.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, yeah, go for it, yeah.
If you sit down and you find your first round opponent the world champion,
Yep.
confidence a bit that does. I've been there.
Yeah, it's a fair question. At the end of the day, whether I play against the world champion or I play against some random Joe from wherever, does my game plan actually change? Do I change the way that I play, right? We can control what we can control, and we can manage what we can in terms of that variance. they're dealing with the same percentages, the same different hands, etc. We just have to trust our preparation and play to what we're going to play to. So yeah, thank you, great question.
So now we're going to talk a little bit about the sources of our confidence. So when we're building our confidence, it's important to think about what we're using to build that confidence. So for example, if you are building your confidence based on how well you're doing in a tournament, based on your results, then as soon as you start not doing well, your confidence is gone. And that is not going to help you at all. I felt that myself. I went into my very first tournament, my only tournament, a few months ago, and I was like feeling pretty good because I'd like played at my weekly plays and I was like, I'm doing pretty well, you know, knowing that I didn't have like a meta deck, I didn't put a lot of money into it, but I went and I just got like creamed like 3 times in a row. And I immediately was like, I am horrible. Why did I even sign up for this? Because I had built my confidence on, well, I was doing quite well at the weekly plays, so I felt really good about it. So we need to think about where we're tying our confidence and how we are building our confidence. So building it on things that you know you're good at as a player rather than your specific results. So it might be thinking about, okay, well, I personally know that there's a certain type of deck that I really like to play. I know that I'm not great at playing out the combos. So when I do play a combo, I'm really proud of myself. I try and learn the combos that I need to play. And then I've started to build my confidence on, okay, well, I know those combos. I know when I come out with that's going to go well. And so I'm trying to build my confidence on some of the skills that I have as I'm learning the cards, getting more familiar with the game rather than, oh, I lost that whole game, I'm useless. Right? So the next activity that we're going to have you do, talking a little bit with your group, is thinking about 2 of your greatest strengths as a TCG player. So this can be something as simple as, you know the rules, right? Like, you know how to play. There are still some times that I don't read a card right, and I was playing the card wrong for like a really long time. You know, so even just thinking clearly about it, knowing the rules, it can be something about the way that you play, how you play, however it is. Think about your strengths as a player, not related to wins, not related to results, but just who you are as a TCG player. And then think about one past success that wasn't just the tournament win. So challenge yourself to not just say, oh, I won this in the tournament. Think about something that you came out of it like, I did that really well. Okay? So go ahead and talk in your groups. If you could write down for each of you or as a group 2 of your greatest strengths and one past success that you have, that'd be great. And then we'll talk about it in a minute. Kind of do the same kinds of things, but this time I would like to hear some individual strengths and some successes. So I like to start with this group, and I'd like to pick on Chase specifically because he's a friend of ours, but also I really liked his strength that he pointed out. So go for it.
My strength is most of the time I'm not the best person in the room. Normally I'm very low at the bottom, but my goal when I play a game is to not win, but to do the coolest thing. So sometimes maybe that's deal as the most damage in one go, or hey, I got you to mill half your deck or something like that. That felt really cool when that moment happened. So having a moment to walk away and say that was good. I'm really good at that.
Thank you. Anyone want to volunteer, or we can go around one at a time? Or
These guys said really good strength as well. They're very analytical and able to build their decks really well. Like they're very good at that.
Quite good at spotting heads to derail other people's combos.
So you're good at annoying people.
You know, that's good though. That's good. You keep everyone on their toes.
No, I like that. That's a good one.
Anything else? Really
I
love
was just
you.
saying that I like talking about improvising and adapting for me something, you're supposed to play a deck a certain way, but then when someone plays against you in another manner and you're like, okay, this game plan isn't gonna work, can I pivot? I'll do that, and it doesn't always work out, but it was better than if I just continued to commit to it,
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. I like it. And I think the great thing about it is that we're all at different levels. We're all have different gameplays and different playing styles. So just understanding your own personal strengths. Like, I know that I will never be an analytical person. I will never be able to build a deck really well. So I let other people build the decks for me, and then I figure out how to play them. So I think it's just figuring out what works for you and figuring out the strengths that you have. Does anyone want to share a success that they had within a tournament? No?
You have a fun one?
I was playing, there's a whole sequence of Magic the Gathering tournaments.
Yeah.
And the rules were that basically you had the basic deck and some cards you could switch in. And I played somebody who was basically doing a draw and burn type strategy where he was burning through his cards in order to use however many cards he burned to inflict damage. But I worked out that basically he was using blue cards for both, and I could block. So I put in all my blue card blockers in, and I realised I didn't need to worry about him burning cards. I just needed to worry about the card that was going to do the damage, because that was if I let him burn his cards, he was going to deck himself. So.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a great success. Was that sideboarding those cards in as well? So there was some strength in the sideboarding knowledge as well. Yeah, awesome.
Hanging on to it until he tried to do the damage.
Yeah.
Because it took him time to get to the point where he could get his combo together. So I was just collecting cards that would break his combo.
That works well.
I think we
Anyone
should pick on this side of the room because we've had a
Okay,
lot
yeah,
from
and
this side.
I'm a school teacher. I'm used to every hand in the room, but I will also pick on people. So one of you from this group, or I will just choose someone.
We had the strengths of just things like focus and being optimistic, like, so about being able to pivot, if things aren't going well, not tying yourself to kind of, it's just,
Yeah.
let's just scoot now.
Just giving up.
And I also think, that optimism can tie into, okay, I might not win, but what can I do that's either going to be cool or really annoying? How can I enjoy this experience
Right.
rather than just
It's about the enjoyment, isn't it?
anything else? And then with some successes in pulling off that combo that has been in your deck for months that you haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
And then finally happens. You're just like, yes.
Success of it. It's really funny. Just a few weeks ago, I was playing against someone that typically plays Magic, but he started playing Lorcana, and we were like 5 turns in, and he's like, "Oh, you've won it," and I was like, not even halfway through, and I'm sat there like, I don't even know how I've won it, and he's like, and he just scooped it all up, and I was like, hold on. Like, let me finish, and I'm gonna learn from it. But I do think sometimes we're so quick to almost like give up, that if you really play it out, or I think there's something to be said for finishing to the end, to get as far as you can get, or to do the best that you possibly can. If you're coming out of a game, even if you haven't won it, if you come out of game knowing like, I did everything I possibly could and I feel really good about that game, that's a success right there. Or maybe you win 1 game out of 3, but you win a game. That's a huge success. And it's not all about winning, but just being able to recognize the moments when you are doing really well to build that success and that confidence as much as you can.
Yeah. So the message here really is how are we anchoring our confidence? So if we're anchoring it into, I've gone 7-1 today, or I've gone 1-7 today, that's a very fragile way to anchor our confidence. As soon as you start losing games, your confidence is going to dip very quickly. So really we want to anchor it in successes or our strengths and maintain that focus throughout a tournament. We may have lost a game, but what did we do well in that game? How did we play? Did we utilize our strengths? That's where the confidence is going to last throughout a tournament, rather than losing game round 1 and dipping from there. So think about where the anchor lies as you're going into your tournaments, and how you're going to maintain that anchor to be stronger rather than fragile based on the results.
And we tried to design this in a way that anyone that is playing tournaments this weekend, you can immediately take it into practice with you. So, feel free to take notes, feel free to take any of this information, but hopefully you'll find success even just starting it right away this weekend.
Yeah. So next we're going to move on to a personal favorite of mine, cognitive reframing. Has anyone heard that term before? Do you want to share a little bit about what you know? Or?
I've not heard that much about it. I'm sure
Okay.
it's fairly better than me.
No, that's fine. Okay, I can jump in. Right, so cognitive reframing is about taking a situation and what we think about a situation. So my first example is, and I know someone very much like this, if I lose round 1, I've wasted my weekend, right? We put money in, we put time in to go to these tournaments or whatever. It can be very easy to start thinking along those lines. And as soon as you do, again, our confidence is probably going to drop. So what cognitive reframing does is we want to take the situation, still base it in the fact, okay, we've lost round 1, but change it into a different message that supports us to think about how we can move forward without getting tilted or frustrated with the situation. So I'll give you the first one as an example. So, many players do still take top cut after an early loss. So again, that tournament that I went to in London, I was 1 win, 2 losses at the start of the day. And I went all the way to 5 wins and 2 losses at the end of the day, and then lost the last round before not making top cut. But, there was a lot riding from that point on, because 1 more loss and I'm out. But I didn't let that impact me, because I used some of these skills and these techniques to make sure that I was just focused on game to game, rather than worrying about what's going to happen at the end of the day. So the idea behind cognitive reframing is, yes, I admit I've lost round 1, but I'm able to change that into a forward-thinking motion to support me for the rest of the day. So what I'd like you to do in your groups, I'm going to assign you a couple to talk about, and I would like you to give a go at reframing the situation. So we'll say this group, or these 2 groups, if you'd like to do the top 2. We'll go this middle area if you'd like to do the next 2, and then you guys on this side, the bottom 2. Okay, so I feel like we're starting. I'm gonna have to start this side of the room next time. But unless we want to work away from the bottom. No, that won't match up with my presentation. I'm locked in, right? So, okay, this side of the room. My opponent is a pro regional champion. I've already lost. What did we talk about in terms of reframing that situation? There's some good ideas over here. So.
Yeah, it's a learning opportunity.
Yep.
I think that's the general.
Yeah, so we're playing against a skilled opponent, right? This is an opportunity for us to learn from one of the best in the TCG. Yeah, exactly. There was another one that we talked about in terms of trusting our deck.
Oh, yeah. And focus, play as best as you can to see how it stacks up, really.
Yeah, focus in, try and play as best as I can, see how it goes. And then enjoy it if we win, right? So.
It was funny, last week we were playing with someone that just kept saying, oh, I just built this deck. I normally play meta deck. I just built this deck. When she didn't feel like she was doing very well, and I sat there it's fine, but I think it's funny because some people are very quick to just blame the deck, or not trust in their deck. They're really unconfident in the deck, and it's it's okay, just do the best that you can, so.
Yeah, so one thing that I came up with, a similar line, but they have the same deck limits as me, right? We have the same card game, the same deck building restrictions. It's all random as well, as the same as me. They're in the same situation as me, basically. We're in this together. So again, they may be the regional champion, but we've got the same variance that's going to happen in this game between us. I always get unlucky draws. We didn't get to that one, did we? Okay, so bad draws happen to everyone. We've all been there. It's a part of TCGs. It's just the fact of now I need to refocus and find my best lines of play. I can sit there and moan about not having the cards that I need, or I can actually try and problem solve and figure out where I can go from what I have available to me. Okay, this one's quite a big one. I made a massive misplay. The game is over. Who had that one? Yep. What do we come up with?
The game isn't actually over yet.
Yeah.
Is the main one, and also, just because you think you've made a misplay doesn't mean that the opponent has noticed you've made a misplay.
Yeah.
And they may also make misplays.
Yeah. We could just be misplaying every round.
You made a misplay to make the other one that your opponent feel better about
Yeah, perfect. So just because we made a misplay doesn't mean that the game's over. Maybe it happens in game 1 of a best of 3. There's still plenty of time to put it off. Maybe it does happen towards the game, but yeah, like you mentioned, opponent might not notice. There's still opportunities there. And again, it goes back to what lines of play do I have from this point? So similar to what we've said, misplays happened. Okay, what do I do now? I need to problem solve this puzzle that's in front of me. Yes.
From that one we said, actually recognising that you've made a misplay is quite important.
Yeah.
You might not recognise you made a misplay, but knowing you made a misplay is an important part of that process as well. It's actually quite a good thing to know.
Yeah. And actually I'd agree with that in terms of being able to recognize when you've not made the best line of play. It shows that you're ready to grow, and it's a development part of playing in a TCG, right? There's so many different combos and so many different cards that all slot together. Starting to recognize that in our own play shows that you're learning and growing as a TCG player. Great, yeah, my deck choice was terrible. My friend that was debating on between the two in that tournament had that line of thought after the tournament. Yeah, was it middle area again? Yeah. and I think to the left. So will you go first, then we'll...
It's not just the deck that decides things, it's how you play it reasonably. So.
Yeah, deck is the deck. It's, yeah, pilot also is needed in that situation.
Yeah, so I've chosen the deck. I
Yeah.
chose it for a reason. Just because it's not going my way doesn't mean it's the wrong deck.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. So I also put good players make great choices and still drop early due to bad matchups. So it could literally just be a case of you played against your counter 5 rounds in a row. It happens, doesn't it? It's not always something that you can control.
And we talked about that in some of the groups that I spoke with, that like focusing on what you can control, because you have no way of knowing if it's going to be a good deck for that tournament, or if everybody else is going to have the same deck or a deck that works really well against it. You have no way of controlling your matchup. So it's all about just focusing on what you can control and doing the best with what you have, rather than thinking about all these other things that happened.
And then the last one, sorry for any control players in here, but if I sit down in front of a control deck, I'm like, this is going to be a slog. Anyway, I hate this matchup so much. What did we come up with?
Basically, you hate this matchup probably because most of the time you think you're going to lose against it.
Yeah.
Well, firstly, as we've already talked about, it's a random game. So yes, they might have the deck you hate, but if they pull all the wrong cards, you will still beat that deck, regardless of what the matchup is. If, however, which seems to be more likely in this situation, they somehow magically pull all the right cards they need to pick you up. If you're learning, you're not losing. I know it's a cliche, but it's true. Because you're learning how to play better against that matchup.
Yeah.
The next time you will know how do you, like you talked about, you know how to prevent them achieving their win condition by blocking things which you wouldn't have known beforehand because you just learned to play against that matchup. So it's being prepared to say yes, this is but may well go badly. Realism is always helpful.
Yeah.
But is there things I can take away from this that will help me when I face this deck next time?
Yeah. Yeah, perfect. And that's shifting your mindset. I'll come to you in a second. That's shifting your mindset from a fixed mindset where I'm going to go, okay, bad matchup, I lose next round, to a growth mindset. Okay, what can I learn from this situation? What plays can I learn? What cards can I learn from them? And that, it does take a bit of effort to shift your mindset between the two, because it is hard losing a game, right? We can all admit that. But we want to be able to learn from those situations rather than just going, okay, lost, move on, right? What were you going to add? Sorry.
All I remember is when it's training is something called, if you fail, you should look at it as first action in learning.
Yeah, that's a nice little motto to go by. Yeah. Awesome. It's free advice over here. That's great. Yeah, I love that. You can take that acronym. I'll take some credit for it. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so I hate this matchup so much. I have a game plan for this deck. Sideboarding is key, right? So maybe you have got a sideboard designed to counter a certain deck if you know it's in the meta. Game one, we might struggle for it, but then, okay, what do I do in my sideboard from there? Or just refocus on what we're going to learn from that situation as well. Now, reframing, the first step to utilizing this technique is to start recognizing your thoughts as you have them. We have a lot of thoughts that we don't consciously realize that we're having them unless we start focusing on what we're actually saying to ourselves. So a tip that I have is to start writing your thoughts down as they come. I know it sounds simple, but if you write it down, then you might look back at it and go, oh, I did say that to myself, right? And then it's a case of once you start recognizing that you're having those thoughts, okay, how do I reframe that into something that's going to support me moving forward?
Well, it's funny because I was telling a group the other day that I am married to Miles and he preaches this stuff all the time and I literally do these presentations with him. But a couple days ago when I was preparing for the tournament, I was like, why did I even sign up? This is ridiculous. Like, I can't win a single game. And then I'm sad, he's like, you need to think about the thoughts you're telling yourself. And I'm like, I know, like, but it's funny because you don't even realize I wasn't even thinking, I was just saying it to him, and I was like, I probably shouldn't because he's the one that's gonna, but it happens more than you realize, I think. And then suddenly I was like, okay, no, I signed up for this. I'm excited, trying to get myself excited, so.
Okay, so we've got about 15 minutes left, so I won't have us do the next activity in the routines. We'll sort of keep it as a larger group. So a good thing to incorporate into what you do is known as a pre-game routine. Has anyone used a pre-game routine before or heard of pre-game routines before? I see you nodding your head. What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's like a lot of things, isn't it? It's like going to sleep. You know, if you're all excited about something, going to sleep is not going to happen. But if you kind of turn the TV off, turn the computer off, get a book out, put some music on, and then go to bed, you go to sleep, not jinx it.
Yeah.
And it's a similar thing with playing any game.
Yeah.
Yourself, have something that gives you a routine that puts you in the right frame of mind.
Exactly.
Confidence, because if you have a routine which you stick to, and you know what that routine is, you will be ready.
Yeah.
Confident, ready. Whereas if you don't have a routine, you just do things randomly, you're going to be potentially lost in your random setup and not ready for the game. So a routine will prepare you better.
Yeah. We like repetition as humans, right? We're comfortable when we have things that we go through the motions. So if you sit down at that table ready to go in game one and it's different every time, I'm a nervous player. You know, when I'm entering a tournament, there's a lot of unknown. It's a nervous situation. To help manage that, I have a pre-game routine that I go through in order to, lock in for that round. If it's later on in the day, round 1 doesn't matter anymore. It's about this round. If it's round 1, round 8 doesn't matter. It's about this round here right in front of me. So the routine helps you just sort of relax into that game state. And having that repetition does build your confidence because it's a familiar environment that you're creating. So a very simple way to develop a routine is called the ABC technique. So the first part of that is action. So you have a physical action that you do to kick off the routine, basically. So my action is to lay out my cards in a certain order in my starting hand. So in Star Wars Unlimited, it's 6 cards. So I do a 6-card pattern, face down on the table, obviously, so I can't see it, my opponent can't see it, but the same every single time. And what that enables me to do is recognize, okay, this is the start of the game now. Now I'm into my game mode, and it helps me relax into that situation. And it's very consistent. It's the same way every single time, because we've all been there, you look at your hand, oh no, no turn 1 play, I need to mulligan. Okay, that's same 6 pattern again. It just helps me relax into that moment. After doing a physical action, take a breath. It sounds simple, but actually physically slowing ourselves down with some breathing techniques can slow our minds down as well. Our minds could be racing about, oh, my opponent's playing this deck, they can have these cards in there, there's so much going on. So a very simple way of doing that is, anyone heard of box breathing before? Yeah, so box breathing technique is very easy to incorporate in here. So you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, out for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, and you go through that motion. And it just helps slow yourself down. And our physical cells is connected to our psychological cells. So by slowing our cells down physically in terms of the heart racing or whatever that might be, it helps slow our thoughts down as well and get ready for the game. And you can do that while looking at your starting hand. So for me, laying down those 6 cards, okay, that starts the breathing as I'm looking through the hand and starting to decide on whether I'm going to mulligan or not. And then a cue word. And again, cue word doesn't have to be anything crazy. For me, just saying good luck to my opponent and doing the fist bump, that's a cue word for me to go, okay, now we're starting. And I'm very intentional to not do that good luck until it's my starting hand. So whether it's the first hand I pick up, great, we'll go into the good luck. If I need to mulligan, I'll do the mulligan first, do the everything again, and then do the good luck, and that's just locking me in. So in terms of actions, does anyone have any actions that they typically like to do at the start of a round? You sit down for game 1 and you see your opponent. Does anyone do anything specific? Okay, great, we're all fresh to this. So what could we do as our action to kick off the routine? Yeah.
Specifically Dice Master Risk.
Go for it, yeah.
Basically, what you've got in front of you is 4 cards on one side, 4 cards on the other side, and you've got dice. What face do you put your dice on for each card? Because basically you've got one which are action faces and one which are energy faces.
Yeah.
So at least some of the people who play it put the side they want to roll face up, which is typically the level 3
Okay.
character face.
Yeah.
So always make sure that all their dice are level 3 face up, because
Yeah.
that tells them that when they roll them for the first time, that dice will come up. Of course it won't. But it's an action, which means you put the cards in the same place, so you know where each card is.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the dice in the same place, and you've got the same place with the dice. So you're basically creating a comfortable place to start,
Yeah.
which is very dice mastery.
Yeah, I mean, you've got that in every, when you sit down for every game, right? It's very repetitable. You can put your dice down. It's easy to incorporate that. It doesn't take a lot of energy, right? Yeah. Yeah, any other ideas what we could do?
That's not laying out the rules or laying out the game. That's what we want to
Yeah.
do most.
Yeah, so laying out our stuff, it could be just as simple as doing it in a specific order. So playmat goes down, deck goes in the specific spot before you shuffle, etc. Tokens go in a certain area. Keeping it in the same order, that creates that repetition. Did you have an
No, it's
idea?
sort of similar laying
Oh,
things
okay.
out, yeah.
Yeah.
Having all the components in the right place and things.
Yeah.
But I just have a thought as well. This might depend on you having the extra preparation, but take a drink. Or
Yeah.
something like a sip of water or something just to set you up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it could be something simple as that. Not quite, I mean, you could try this in a TCG. I don't know how it would go. I used to play as a goalkeeper in football. My routine would be to just adjust my socks. So it could be just something simple as like rolling up your sleeves or something like that. It doesn't have to be to do with your deck itself, but just something that you can repeat in any environment, basically. Breathing, box breathing. Most important thing about deep breathing is if you're going to utilize it, the exhale should be longer than the inhale. So that's physically going to slow your body down. Cue words, does anyone have any specific cue words that they might say to themselves before playing? Or any ideas of what cue words you could say to yourself?
Focus.
Focus, yep. Quick and simple, focus, yep. Chase, you were going to say
Let's
something?
go!
Let's go. Yeah.
In my head.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Have fun. Yep, have fun. All it needs to be is short and simple. Doesn't have to be any like crazy script that you're going to read off to yourself, but 1 or 2 words is fine as long, again, repetition, just do it. When you're incorporating a routine, it's really important just to remember it has to take not too much cognitive power. It shouldn't be like a crazy long routine that you go through. It should be just be able to incorporate it quickly into your game plan. And then once you start doing it, it becomes a habit and you don't even need to think about doing it. You just go through those motions at the start of a game. So that's routines. I'm going to pass it back over to Britni to reflect after.
Okay. So this is the end. Promise we're getting there. The last thing is thinking about how you're performing afterward. So this could be after a specific matchup. It could be after a variety. It could be at the end of the tournament, at the end of the day, wherever you feel appropriate. So the one and only tournament I've done, Miles did some video recording, and after each round, we would do a quick catch up and I'd kind of reflect on it. And it was really interesting to watch back and see that I was getting more and more tired and a little bit more frustrated as the day went on and I just kept losing. But it was really good. It always kind of helped boost me up to then have that conversation with him and say, okay, well, what did I do well? How am I feeling about everything? How can I kind of, come back into the mindset? And something that helped a lot as well was knowing that the more I lost, the closer I was getting to opponents that were similar to me, that are the similar skill level or that are playing the same way that I did, might have different decks, may not have a meta deck, which I know going into it I didn't. And so those kinds of things helped me, I learned a lot and then I felt a lot more confident going into those. So as you're thinking about it, instead of thinking about the results and how you're doing, thinking about your performance specifically within those rounds, right? So it's going back to, don't think about it as a loss, think about what did I learn, right? What did I do well? What are some of the things I can be proud of coming out of that game? And at that tournament, it was a rough day for me, but I came out of every game feeling confident that I knew that I had done the best that I could. I learned some things and I felt really good afterward about the way that I had played. So thinking about what you did well, thinking about, how did it actually go? What is the variance that I came across? How did it impact my performance? For example, if I didn't play one card that I wanted, what did I do instead? And this is something that I'm still learning. I'm still learning to shift and pivot and improvise and figure out, okay, well, I didn't quite get what I want. How can I react to that? But then recognizing that how that's impacting you in the actual tournament can be really helpful. Instead of just blowing over and not thinking about, well, how did I react to that? And how could I maybe improve that reaction if it happens again? And then think about the misplays, which sometimes it can be difficult, but I find it really helpful to kind of talk through Miles and say, oh my gosh, I just did this. Like, I still misplay. There's still some cards. I was playing a game the other day against his brother, and he came in and he was like, why aren't you using this card? And I was like, I can't, can I? And he was like, no, you can do this. And I was like, how did I not know that? So but I think it comes back to the knowledge of the cards, but then also learning from that. So now I'm like, oh, I understand why that card is in there and why it's really helpful. And going forward, I'm going to use it a lot better. And then what will you do between now and the next tournament? So it might be the overall tournament, or it might be what are you going to do before the next round, or what are you going to do before you enter the tournament tomorrow? So reflecting on it can be really helpful, and it can help you build that confidence. Maybe you haven't perfectly reframed your thoughts. Maybe you're still struggling with some of those things. But at the end, if you go back on it and think about all the things that you did well, did you have fun? Did you learn from it? It can help you feel a lot better going into the next tournament. So
the science behind this is, as humans, we're quite negatively inclined, right? It's very easy for us to go through the day and be like, okay, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, this didn't go very well. Forcing yourself to start thinking about what did I do well is a good way to actually start highlighting what you are doing well, because we want to keep doing those things, right? If you notice that you're really good at something, we don't want that to fall behind. We want to keep doing those things. So my suggestion is to have 3 strengths that you can identify through the course of a day. Very easy number to achieve in terms of, okay, this is what I'm doing well. We do obviously want to acknowledge what might not be going so well, how we can improve. So that's the development piece with these in the middle, but also we do sometimes get screwed over by variance, so we can allow us to have that space to acknowledge when that happens. And then the most important thing is to actually have an action plan, because again, we're very good at identifying, okay, this didn't go very well, but actually what are the next steps? Where do I go from here? And you need to be specific in, okay, that didn't go well. Now I know I need to practice this matchup going into the next tournament, or I need to practice this combo, or recognize how to develop my sideboard, those sorts of action plans between tournaments.
something that I did from the most recent tournament was I played a deck that like nobody plays, and it's not a super effective deck. But then going into this tournament, Miles and I were like, okay, well, let's see if we can find a deck that maybe plays a bit better against the meta deck that isn't necessarily the meta, but that we know is going to work more effectively. And so I think even if you are going to change your deck, if you've decided that your deck just isn't working, thinking about, okay, well, what would work well against those, or even knowing the new cards that are coming out. Like in Lorcana, there's like this massive toy deck that all these people are building, getting really excited about, that work really well together. And I'm sat here like, okay, so I got to figure out how to play against that deck, because I know it's really likely that I'll come across that. So knowing the decks that you might play against and playing, you know, practicing, but then also don't be afraid to change your deck if you need to, or to switch out a few things, or to change the way that you're playing, all that kind of stuff.
So yeah, thank you so much for joining. Yeah.
Yes, but don't change every time.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, that's.
Eventually pick a deck and stick with it through thick and
Yeah.
thin, or at least I would say
Yeah.
Basically, probably changing it every time is you're not learning.
Yeah.
Developing your understanding of the deck.
Well, and I
But
think
that
it's
is very easy when your keep gets watched by people playing
Yeah.
toys or brooms or
Yeah.
Darth Vader or
And I think it depends on the game you're playing too, though, because like in Lorcana, if I stuck with a deck for an entire year, it's actually going to be out of rotation. So, but then knowing what cards are coming back in rotation and knowing those kind of things. But you could also just trade out a few cards in a deck if you're finding that something isn't working very well.
Yeah, awesome. So thank you so much for joining. We are just about to hit 2. So just as we finish, I do have a free guide on my website if you wanted to go away and learn a little bit more. We do also have a YouTube channel, so if you wanted to check us out on YouTube, it's just TCG Psych. So feel free to go ahead and
Miles
take a look
usually
at that.
posts every other week.
Yeah.
We just hit 100 subscribers, so feel free to, we're getting there.
And before you leave, if you have any questions, feel free to shout out.
And thank you so much for coming.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Go for it.
the meta. Is it good to focus on the meta, or should, I mean, you can't not know about the meta, But
Yeah.
should you avoid focusing too much on it, or do you have to? Because I feel clearly, if you're going to go to a really big tournament, the meta is going to be the dominant thing.
Yeah.
So you've got a choice. You either play meta or you play off meta. Me, I'm an off meta man. It's just the way I am.
Yeah.
But that brings with it, if you like, baggage. Because you know at some point you're going to run into a deck, which is a meta deck, which will probably be featured. Or maybe not. You never know.
Yeah.
So do you follow meta? Or
It's a fair question. I personally prefer to choose based on my play style. So I know what types of decks I like to play. I have played the meta deck before, but it depends on what you're comfortable with. If you were to go to a tournament and have the choice of, I could take this meta deck, which I haven't practiced and I don't know much about it, but I know it does well, versus a deck that you've built and you're very comfortable with and you know the play lines, I would always say choose the deck you're more comfortable with because you know that deck inside out. In terms of if you have time to prepare, you can be successful without playing the meta deck. So last weekend, there was a Star Wars tournament in Prague. The person that won the 700 player tournament was the only person to bring that deck. So clearly it's not a meta deck, but they knew the meta decks inside out. They knew how their deck played into the meta decks. So you don't have to take the meta deck to be successful. It's just a case about knowing how to then play into the meta deck if you're not playing the meta deck. So that leads us right back to that first point of preparation, right? So if I'm prepared and I know what I'm likely going to go up against, then I'm ready for the day and I can go and play into that. Yeah. Yeah.
Played against one champion in one tournament, and his deck was like none of the better decks. And I loved it, and he completely trashed me with it. And I asked him afterwards, well, how did you come up with the deck like that? And he said, well, I took all the available cards, and I said, I put them into deck, and I just played different combinations against them. And then I just kept building my deck, and all he did was say, right, I asked the question every single time, why is this particular card in my deck? Is there any other card that does something similar, but is a little bit better with something else that I've got in the deck? And he said, I just keep doing that until people start losing.
Yeah, and a good way of doing that as well is if you've got a group of you at your local store ever play testing together, if you know someone's pretty strong at playing the meta deck, then you can play different decks into that and see what you're going to take. Yep. Yeah, go for it.
How do you deal with that kind of reflection between rounds if you're pushed for time? How do you remember what happened in a game with enough detail to reflect on it properly later?
Yeah, so I wouldn't go into that depth between games.
You could also take some quick notes in like a notebook or on your phone or something to remind you of it later.
Yeah, if there's key things that stick out, write it down, or you can audio record on your phone, whatever you prefer. The deep reflection I would suggest doing after the tournament, not straight away, but within 24 hours, so it's fresh, but we haven't got all the emotional baggage that comes with that reflection as well. So between the rounds, my focus would be on recovery and preparing for the next round. So whatever you need to do to sort of refocus. For me, I do the best when I'm at a tournament with a group of people that I know and I'm able to go and sort of just like decompress with them and able to get out, this frustrating thing happened in this game or whatever. But then afterwards, after the tournament, that's the key place to do the reflection and figure out, this is what happened today. What did I do well? How can I improve? And how am I going to improve, basically? Yeah. Awesome. Any other questions or are we feeling good?
Okay. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you.